Hi guys, and welcome back to another part of the series A Monstrous Night, written and narrated by Stacey Holt, inspired by the artwork by Deepee-chan on Tumblr. I'll leave a link to their Tumblr in the description box below, as well as my social media, if you'd like to check that out. Anyways, if you'd like to support the series and are enjoying it, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and if you want, you can leave a comment. Back to the story. Chapter 11, The Truth.
Hey, Prince, Marinette,
he said, sitting down on her bed beside her. She wiped her face, and he saw her fold her knees to her chest as she wrapped her arms around them, her dress folding around her knees. Her makeup was still on, but her eyeliner was just a little smudged from the crying she had done that night, and he gave her a frown. "Why are you here, Adrian?" she asked, not acknowledging his superhero alter ego, almost like a cold shoulder. "Especially after rejecting me." Her eyes darted to him, giving him a glare. Her eyes cut him like daggers. The longer they held their stare, the longer he felt like he was being plunged through the chest. Without thinking, he let his body do the talking. He felt his hands move on their own and wrap themselves around her back. He felt the softness of her hair against his face as he breathed in her sweet cherry perfume. He felt her try to push him away with force, almost struggling to hold back her emotions. After a few seconds of feeling her try to push him away, he heard her sniffling and had given in to her tears once again. She was wanting him to comfort her, yet she hated it. She loved him and hated him because he hurt her, yet she still loved him. Cat Noir was her best friend, and she wanted him to comfort her. Yet her best friend was a person who she loved, who also hurt her, was also nerve-wracking, and it hurt. He understood that, yet he knew she needed him. He would always be there for her. It was like going in circles, and her mind was spinning. He felt her wrap her arms around his back and pull him into a deeper hug as her cries intensified. He pulled her into his lap, and he laid his head on top of hers as he just let her cry.
"I'm so sorry, Princess,"
he said softly, knowing nothing he could say could make her feel any better. He lifted his head off of hers. She felt the weight of his head lift and looked up at him, but was met with his lips against hers. His eyes closed, yet hers remained open, in shock at the fact that he did something so rash. He parted his lips away from hers and took a second to let her catch her breath.
"I must have lost so much blood earlier that I couldn't think clearly. How could I not see how dear you are to me? How could I not see how important you are? You always go out of your way for me. You always think about me and my feelings before your own, while I only think about myself, and for that, I'm sorry," he said with a frown, his ears drooping. Marinette blinked and put her hands on his cheeks, pulling him in for another kiss. This time she closed her eyes and caught him off guard, their faces bright red and the butterflies now in their stomach as they interlocked their lips. They parted their lips a few seconds later, and Marinette started to giggle. Why are you laughing?"
he asked, confused. "I know you followed me from the alley. I know you know that I'm Ladybug," Marinette said, wiping her remaining tears from her eyes. His eyes widened.
"You knew that I knew? This entire time that I got here? Then why hide Tiki?"
he asked, looking around the room. "Because I wanted to talk to you about a few things first," she said, sitting on her bed, trying to create some distance between her and Cat Noir, realizing that he had lifted her into his laps during the crying session. "Tonight, you told me as Multi-Mouse that you would probably have lost without me. Since Ladybug didn't show up, I thought maybe it was time to reveal to one another who we were. I already knew you were Adrian, so I figured I would reveal myself, but I wanted clarity on one thing first. I want to know if you could ever love the civilian me," she said with a shiver in her voice, almost trying to avoid crying.
"Marinette, he started.
You only came here because you found out that I was Ladybug, didn't you? Marinette asked, looking at him as another tear slid down her cheek as she smiled. This was the last straw. He had remained quiet for way too long. He should have spoken up on the balcony, but didn't.
That's not at all the slightest bit true. We're best friends. You're my partner. We're basically family, Cat Noir said furiously, clenching his fist. I've had feelings for you as Marinette for a long time, but never wanted to act on them because I felt like I was betraying Ladybug. I fell in love with Ladybug first. She was so clumsy at first, and human, just like me, but stepped in and took action when everyone needed her most. You're Ladybug. You're the girl I fell in love with, he said, trying to get her to understand his viewpoint, without trying to sound too harsh.
Cat,
she whispered. Please, m'lady, he frowned.
Marinette was about to speak, but Cat put his finger against her lip to stop her from speaking. He smiled at her as she looked at him.
Will you dance with me? One last dance, since our last one was interrupted. He winked,
pulling his finger away and letting it fall openly for her to take. Thank you so much for watching. The next chapter will be out soon. Again, I'm sorry I keep repeating myself, but anyways, if you really can't wait for the next one, I'll be uploading my script to Patreon so you can read early, and if not, I'll have my upload schedule at the very end after this outro, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!